Welcome back to English from A to Z. All right, close your eyes for just a moment and picture this with me. You're stepping into a vibrant, bustling restaurant, maybe a little place you've never discovered before, perhaps in a city far from home. The air is alive with these tantalizing aromas, spices you can't quite identify, the sizzle of a grill, maybe the sweet whisper of something baking. And then a new dish, a true work of art, arrives at your table. The symphony of colors and textures. You lift your fork, take that first, maybe cautious bite, and then boom, it hits you. Your eyes widen, your taste buds are singing an opera, and your mind just screams, wow, this is sensational. I absolutely have to make this at home. But then as you try to describe those complex flavors, the unexpected sweetness, that tangy burst, that fiery, spicy kick, or maybe you try to ask the chef in English for the secret to their amazing sauce, suddenly you're stuck. You find yourself translating from your native language, fumbling for the words, and they just don't quite capture the full, exhilarating experience you just had. Sound familiar? That moment of delicious inspiration hitting a kind of linguistic wall. So, here's the game changer question we're exploring today. What if English could be your natural, effortless language for these incredible food adventures? What if you could think directly in English when you're discovering new foods, confidently experimenting in the kitchen, or passionately sharing your culinary successes and those incredible aha moments with friends, without even a moment's hesitation? Today, we're not just dipping our toes. We are diving deep into a really unique, delicious, and frankly, incredibly effective methodology designed to help you master English speaking through the lens of food. Our mission is to explore food and cooking adventures as this powerful linguistic tool, moving you beyond those simple surface level phrases like, it's good, to truly express the real excitement, the nuance, and the full sensory tapestry of your entire culinary journey. From that initial craving right through to the shared delight. Our insights today are coming from excerpts of a fantastic resource, a true linguistic feast, if you will. Master English Speaking with Food and Cooking in English Day 4, Shadowing English Speaking Practice. This invaluable content comes from the widely respected YouTube channel, Speak English Daily. Now, you might hear Day 4 and think, oh no, have I missed something?
Right, like you need to go back and catch up.
Exactly. But here's the brilliant news. As the source itself reassures us, each episode is designed to be complete and independent. So you can jump in right now, get incredible value, and immediately start transforming how you communicate about food. And by extension, about so much more, really, in English. By the end of this deep dive, you'll gain the specific tools to think in English naturally when you're being creative in the kitchen, tasting new dishes, and sharing your cooking discoveries. It's about moving from simply knowing English words to actually living your English experience.
And what's particularly potent about this program, I think, and what really stands out immediately, is how it leverages something so universally engaging, like food, to tackle a fundamental and, let's face it, often intimidating language learning challenge. It manages to ground abstract language concepts, everything from, say, sentence structure to nuanced vocabulary, even emotional expression, in tangible, deeply relatable experiences that everyone can connect with, regardless of their background.
That makes so much sense. Food is universal.
Yeah, exactly. This approach directly addresses those aha moments you're seeking, providing practical, immediately applicable language. It's a genius move, really, to make language acquisition less about dry grammar exercises and more about genuine human experience. This helps you feel less overwhelmed by just the sheer volume of information out there and significantly more equipped for genuine, confident communication. Food is just so much more than sustenance, isn't it? It's intrinsically tied to culture, to memory, celebration, emotion. It makes it an ideal sort of immersive vehicle for language acquisition because it activates so many different parts of our brains and our lives.
That's a crucial observation, grounding abstract concepts in something so visceral, so personal. It makes me wonder, though, given the deep dive context for our listener who's already curious about this method, how does this approach specifically stand out from maybe other context-based language learning tools they might have seen. Because, let's be honest, we all know those foundational phrases, right? We can usually manage, I like pizza, or this tastes good.
Mm-hmm. The basics.
Yeah, the basics. But if you're like me, you often want to go beyond that to truly capture and convey the full spectrum of an experience. How do you express the subtle nuances, those unexpected layers, the genuine joy, or maybe even surprise? The Speak English Daily resource really emphasizes moving past these simple statements to capture the real excitement of trying new recipes, experimenting with flavors, and creating something amazing with your own hands.
Hmm.
It feels like the difference between just stating a fact and truly sharing your passion, your process, your entire sensory engagement with the culinary world.
And that's precisely where the cognitive shift is paramount.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of language acquisition, the act of constantly translating in your head, from your native language to English, that's a major bottleneck for achieving true fluency. It's like this mental gymnastics routine that slows you down. It disrupts the natural rhythm of conversation and often leads to sentences that, okay, maybe they're grammatically correct, but they just don't sound natural or spontaneous.
Ooh, they sound constructed.
It's exactly constructed. The ultimate goal of thinking directly in English is to bypass that translation step entirely. It's about creating direct mental pathways where concepts, feelings, intentions, they instantly manifest in English. This allows your brain to automatically recognize meaning and respond naturally, building a strong, intuitive foundation. When you no longer have that internal translator working overtime, your brain processes information far more efficiently. It makes understanding and speaking feel much more effortless, more immediate. And this foundational strength means that even when native speakers talk fast or use different words, you'll still grasp their meaning perfectly because you have that deeply ingrained foundation of direct comprehension.
Ah, so it's like building the intuition for the language.
Precisely. This shift from translation to direct thought is what truly impacts your fluency. It enables natural, flowing conversation, allowing you to participate fully and authentically without that exhausting mental intermediary. It's about building a linguistic reflex, not, a manual translation process.
Exactly. And what's brilliant is that this deep dive isn't just about understanding the theory behind it. This program, as outlined in the source, will show you how to truly master 35 sentences that follow your complete food adventure journey to achieve this level of natural intuitive thinking. It's a really comprehensive approach. It guides you from that first spark of culinary curiosity through the challenges and the triumphs in the kitchen, all the way to sharing your successes and even planning your next gastronomic quest. It's designed to give you the building blocks, not just for individual thoughts, but for a complete, compelling narrative arc around your experiences. It's quite holistic. So, how does Speak English Daily actually equip you to reach this level of mastery? The channel presents a truly powerful, proven system structured into 3 distinct rounds. And it's not just about rote memorization, it's about internalizing the language through active engagement, transforming it into, well, second nature. Round 1 is all about practice together, which they aptly call shadowing practice. Now, many of you who've explored language learning are likely familiar with shadowing, right? That immersive technique of echoing native speakers to refine pronunciation and rhythm.
It's a common technique.
It is. But what's particularly potent about its application here in round 1 is how Speak English Daily uses it not just for sound replication, but as the initial sort of neurological priming for contextual vocabulary acquisition. You're not just repeating sounds, you're internalizing the melody of the sentences, the intonation that carries emotion,
Yeah.
and the natural flow of phrases directly linked to the food adventure context.
So it connects sound to meaning immediately.
Yes. It helps you develop that natural rhythm and intonation, which are crucial for sounding natural and understandable. And critically, it builds muscle memory for speech, training your mouth and tongue to form English sounds and phrases effortlessly, often without even thinking about the individual words. Think of it like a musician practicing scales and chords. It builds that foundational dexterity for fluent improvisation later on. Then comes round two. Practice alone with just images, with no text, no voice cues, just the visual. This is where, as the program emphasizes, the real secret and the magic truly happen.
Image-only stage. That sounds challenging.
It is challenging, but deliberately so. This stage is specifically designed to force your brain to actively recall and produce English without any external linguistic support. It's like taking off the training wheels and learning to cycle purely by instinct. You're presented with an image, say a picture of someone meticulously chopping vegetables or maybe a bubbling pot on the stove, and you have to generate the appropriate English sentence or description yourself entirely from memory and understanding.
Okay, I see. So no crutches.
No crutches at all. This is precisely where your brain stops translating and starts thinking like a food adventurer in English. It's the critical step for building that direct neural connection, bypassing the need for mental translation, because you're actively retrieving and constructing the language based on a concept or an image, not a translation prompt. This builds immense confidence in spontaneous speech. And finally, round three is food adventure storytelling. This is the culmination of your practice, the triumphant moment where you take all those individual sentences and phrases you've mastered and connect them into one flowing food adventure story.
Going from sentences to a narrative.
Exactly. This is where you move from individual bricks to building a whole architecturally sound house. It's about synthesizing your knowledge into coherent, natural narratives, just like you would effortlessly in your native language. It's about making your English feel authentic and deeply personal.
This raises an important question, though. Why is this structured progression so profoundly powerful for language learning? From a pedagogical perspective, it systematically moves from guided input in round one,
The shadowing.
right, the shadowing,
Yeah.
to independent production in round two.
With the images.
Yes. And then finally, to coherent narrative construction in round three. This holistic method helps solidify language patterns not just as isolated facts, but as interconnected components of communication, components that are directly transferable to real-world scenarios. The more you practice these sentences, the deeper they become part of your natural thinking, which is absolutely key for long-term retention and, well, natural usage. It's not about superficial memorization. It's about building an intuitive, deeply ingrained understanding that allows for flexible and creative expression later.
That makes sense. It's layered learning.
It is. And this system is brilliant because it cleverly addresses different learning styles and systematically develops different stages of fluency. It starts with auditory and kinesthetic learning through shadowing, then moves to visual and active recall, and culminates in narrative synthesis, which engages higher cognitive functions like critical thinking and sequential processing. It progressively challenges the learner, ensuring that the language becomes deeply embedded and readily accessible for spontaneous, confident communication. This carefully orchestrated progression is what makes the mastery feel so organic, so natural.
Okay, let's really unpack this then. The source provides these 35 meticulously crafted sentences that map out a complete food adventure. We're going to explore these sentences now in 5 distinct phases, showing you how they build a comprehensive, engaging narrative for your culinary experiences, from start to finish. And like you said, it's not just a random collection of phrases, it's a thoughtfully designed toolkit that provides the linguistic scaffolding for your entire journey.
Indeed. And we'll see how this isn't just a basic list of phrases to recite, but a carefully curated set that allows for rich, descriptive storytelling. Storytelling that reflects real-world experiences with genuine emotion and detail. Each sentence is strategically placed to contribute to painting a vivid picture, allowing you to articulate every step of a culinary journey with precision, personality, and genuine English expression.
That's exciting.
This structured approach allows for a much deeper engagement with the language than simply learning isolated words, enabling you to build complex thoughts and share them naturally.
Okay, our journey begins with phase 1, discovery and initial inspiration covering sentences 1 through 7. It all begins, as any great adventure does, with curiosity, an open mind, and maybe a craving for something new. Sentence 1. I love trying new restaurants and different cuisines. This isn't just a simple statement of preference, is it? It feels like more. It's almost a declaration of identity.
It really is.
Linguistically, it provides a robust, positive opening for conversation, immediately signaling curiosity and an adventurous spirit. Think about how much more dynamic this sounds compared to just saying, I like food. It helps you project a certain persona in English, one of openness and enthusiasm, paving the way for far richer interactions and allowing you to connect with others who share similar interests.
Precisely. This initial sentence immediately establishes a common ground for conversation and invites further inquiry. From a psychological perspective, stating a love for exploration, whether it's in food or travel, signals an adventurous spirit. Linguistically, it primes the conversation for descriptive follow-ups, things like, what kind of cuisine do you prefer? Or, oh, have you tried X restaurant? Which are essential for sustained natural dialogue. It's a powerful opening gambit that sets a positive tone for linguistic interaction.
Then we move to sentences 2 and 3. This dish has an amazing combination of flavors. I can taste ginger, garlic, and something spicy. Here, you're describing sensory experiences vividly, moving beyond just a generic good to really pinpointing what makes it good. You're breaking down the complexity of the taste, engaging your senses, and articulating them in English. This is where you transition from passive appreciation to active analytical description, a much more advanced form of communication.
Absolutely. Imagine trying to explain that to a chef. Simple good just wouldn't cut it.
Not at all.
And what's crucial here is the specificity. Many learners struggle to move beyond basic adjectives. These sentences provide a template for breaking down complex sensory information into its constituent parts, identifying individual notes like ginger or garlic, and then broader categories like spicy. This active naming practice significantly enhances descriptive vocabulary and teaches you how to articulate nuanced perceptions, which is really a hallmark of sophisticated language use. It trains your ear and your tongue to express subtle differences, making your descriptions far more engaging and precise.
Sentence 4. This reminds me of my grandmother's cooking. Oh, this sentence is beautiful because it connects food directly to personal memories and cultural heritage.
The emotional connection.
Yes. Food is so often deeply tied to our personal history, our upbringing, the traditions that shape us. Being able to express that kind of emotional, historical connection adds so much depth to your conversation. It's about emotion and connection, not just ingredients or techniques, demonstrating a truly human aspect of communication.
Absolutely. Linguistically, this phrase is a bridge between the immediate sensory experience and a rich personal narrative. It allows for immediate, authentic emotional resonance. From a communicative standpoint, it opens up avenues for sharing cultural context and personal stories, moving a conversation beyond the superficial. Mastering phrases that link sensory input to personal narrative, to memory, to cultural context enables a much deeper level of interpersonal connection, which is, after all, a fundamental goal of fluent communication.
It moves you from describing to really sharing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sharing your inner world, fostering empathy and understanding.
Sentence 5. I wonder what ingredients they used in this sauce. This sparks that investigative curiosity. It's that natural human desire to understand, to peel back the layers and learn more about what you're experiencing. It shows an active, engaged interaction with the food, not just passive consumption. It's the beginning of a mental quest. You want to figure it out.
And this sentence demonstrates an active, sort of interrogative engagement with the world. It's not just about asking a direct question like, what's in this, but expressing a thought process, a wonder, a speculation. This is critical for showing nuanced thought in English. It trains the brain to formulate hypothetical questions and express intellectual curiosity, which is a step beyond simple information retrieval and points towards a more sophisticated command of the language. It also sets the stage for research and learning, aligning perfectly with the adventure theme.
Sentence 6. I want to learn how to cook this at home. This expresses the desire for practical application and mastery. That inspiration has turned into a concrete goal, a clear intention to take action and replicate the experience yourself. It signifies that transition from appreciation to aspiration.
And this phrase is such a powerful statement of intention and agency. It's about translating desire into a plan of action. In language learning, articulating goals is crucial, and this sentence provides a template for doing just that in a relatable context. It highlights the learner's intrinsic motivation to move from observation to hands-on experience, which is a direct parallel to actively applying new language skills. It shows a proactive mindset, which is incredibly valuable.
And finally, for this initial segment, sentence 7, I'm taking a photo to remember this meal. This captures the moment, serving as a memory aid for future reference. And let's face it, in our highly visual digital world, this is a very common and relatable action.
Oh, definitely. We all do it.
Right. It makes the phrase immediately useful and practical, documenting the journey for reflection later on.
Precisely. The act of documenting, as with sentence 7, is crucial. What this entire first phase, from sentence 1 right through to 7, demonstrates so powerfully is the full spectrum of engagement. You go from initial broad appreciation to detailed sensory analysis, then to personal and cultural reflection, then to a clear intention to act, and finally to documenting the experience.
It's a whole mini journey in itself.
It really is. This progression from passive enjoyment to active engagement with the culinary experience is a microcosm of effective learning. Being able to articulate these distinct steps is crucial for a complete and rich description, allowing you to fully convey the depth of your experience rather than just a superficial comment. This initial phase really sets the stage for deeper linguistic exploration and storytelling.
Absolutely. Okay, so once you've been inspired and you have that clear intention, the adventure moves from inspiration to actionable steps. That brings us neatly to phase 2, planning and preparation, covering sentences 8 through 12. This is the exciting process of research, planning, and gathering everything you need to bring that culinary vision to life. Sentence 8. I found an interesting recipe online to try. This is the initiation of the research and discovery phase. That spark of inspiration from the restaurant now has a concrete path forward.
The practical next step.
Exactly. The internet has become our modern global cookbook, hasn't it? And this phrase perfectly reflects that reality, showing how readily accessible information is.
And this sentence signifies that transition from passive desire to active pursuit of knowledge. It implies research, critical evaluation of sources maybe, and the ability to articulate where and how information was found. In language learning, this parallels finding and selecting appropriate learning materials. It's a statement of resourcefulness and proactive learning.
Sentence 9. I'm reading the ingredients list carefully. This emphasizes attention to detail and foundational understanding. Good cooking, much like good language learning, requires precision and a thorough grasp of the components.
You can't just skim it.
Right. You're not just glancing, you're truly engaging with the information, making sure you understand every element before you start.
This highlights the importance of methodical analysis. Reading carefully suggests an active comprehension process, not just skimming. In language acquisition, this translates to dissecting sentences, understanding grammar and context, and paying close attention to specific vocabulary. It reinforces the value of diligence and thoroughness in any learning endeavor, showing that mastery often comes from understanding the details.
Sentence 10. Some of these ingredients are new to me. Now, this is an important one because it acknowledges new learning opportunities and the expansion of your knowledge base. It's perfectly okay to encounter the unfamiliar. In fact, it's an integral part of any adventure, whether culinary or linguistic.
That's a great point. It normalizes the learning curve.
Yes. This phrase shows an openness to learning and growth, not being intimidated by the unknown.
And that acknowledgement is vital. It normalizes the encounter with the unfamiliar, which is a constant in language learning. Instead of being a barrier, it's framed as an opportunity. Being able to articulate this experience, some are new to me, is a powerful way to express your learning journey, whether it's about a new spice or new grammatical structure. It fosters resilience and what we call a growth mindset.
Sentence 11, I need to buy fresh herbs and spices. This is all about the practical steps of sourcing and preparation. You're moving from theory to execution, outlining the actual tasks required to get started. It's the tangible, real-world application of your plan, making the shopping list.
Yes, this is a sentence of practical necessity and resource management. It demonstrates the ability to identify needs and plan logistical steps. In language learning, this translates to actively seeking out opportunities for practice, acquiring new tools maybe, or finding native speakers for conversation practice. It's about taking concrete steps towards your goal.
And for this phase, sentence 12, this recipe looks challenging but exciting. This phrase beautifully captures the spirit of embracing new difficulties with enthusiasm. It acknowledges potential hurdles, but crucially, it frames them as part of the fun, part of the growth process.
The challenge accepted moment.
Exactly. It's a positive, resilient outlook on a learning curve, signaling readiness for a challenge.
And this section powerfully highlights that whole preparatory phase, which, as we've said, often mirrors the essential pre-work in language learning, researching vocabulary, understanding syntax, gathering learning resources. The acknowledgement that some of these ingredients are new to me is so vital because it shows that learning is a continuous process. It often involves stepping out of one's comfort zone, whether that's in the kitchen or in a new linguistic environment.
Yeah, it validates that feeling.
It validates the learner's experience of encountering new concepts and frames it as an integral part of progress rather than a barrier to be avoided. This also demonstrates the importance of being able to articulate both anticipation and potential challenges in a positive, proactive way.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, and let's be honest, sometimes a little messy. We're moving into phase 3, the cooking process and experimentation, covering sentences 13 through 24. This is where the kitchen truly becomes our laboratory, a place for creation and, well, if you're anything like me, a touch of optimistic improvisation.
Yes. Where the magic and sometimes the mishaps happen.
Exactly, where the magic and sometimes the hilarious disasters happen. Sentence 13, I'm following the recipe step by step. This represents the disciplined approach, especially when tackling something new or complex. It shows a commitment to the process, a methodical execution that provides structure even amidst potential experimentation later.
This emphasizes a fundamental principle of skill acquisition, the importance of structured practice before you start deviating. Initially, adherence to a known process builds foundational competence. Linguistically, it teaches the sequential description of actions, which is a critical skill for explaining procedures or recounting events clearly.
Then we have sentences 14, 15, and 16. I'm experimenting with different spice combinations. I'm adding more chili powder to make it spicier. I think this needs a little lemon juice. Now, these are crucial for expressing the creative, adaptive, and intuitive process of adjustment.
Making it your own.
Yes. Cooking isn't always rigid. It's often about tasting, tweaking, and making it truly your own. These sentences allow you to convey that dynamic interaction with your ingredients, that personal touch, that real-time problem solving.
And these phrases are excellent examples of expressing hypothesis, action, and judgment in real time. I'm experimenting, I'm adding, I think this needs. These are active cognitive processes being articulated clearly in English. They move beyond simple descriptions to internal thought and decision-making, which is a significant leap in linguistic complexity and a key to sounding natural and thoughtful.
Sentence 17. The smell coming from the kitchen is incredible. Oh, I love this one. It engages another sense, building anticipation and describing the atmospheric impact of your cooking. It's about the whole multi-sensory experience, not just the final product. It paints a much more vivid picture for the listener.
It really does. This sentence taps into descriptive language beyond just taste, engaging the sense of smell, which is often so evocative.
Yeah.
It demonstrates the ability to use adjectives effectively to convey intensity and build anticipation. For language learners, it expands their descriptive palette, allowing them to communicate more vividly and emotionally, really enriching their narrative.
Sentence 18. I'm tasting as I cook to get the flavors right. This highlights the continuous feedback loop and refinement process. It shows active engagement and a commitment to quality, a constant iterative evaluation of your progress towards, well, maybe not perfection, but getting it right.
Yes, that iterative improvement. This phrase is all about continuous self-correction. Tasting as I cook implies a feedback loop, which is a crucial element in any learning process, not just cooking. Linguistically, it allows for the expression of ongoing actions and a clear objective to get the flavors right, essential for describing any goal-oriented activity.
Sentence 19. This is turning out better than I expected. The sweet reward of success and positive self-evaluation. That wonderful moment when your efforts pay off and you can articulate that pleasant surprise, that genuine delight in English. Isn't that just the most satisfying feeling?
It absolutely is. And this sentence provides a clear way to express that positive surprise and successful outcome. It's an affirmation of personal achievement and demonstrates the ability to articulate subjective positive evaluations. For learners, being able to express satisfaction and pleasant surprises naturally is crucial for conveying genuine emotion in conversation.
But as we know, not every moment is perfect, right? Sentence 20, I accidentally added too much salt. Oops. This acknowledges setbacks and mistakes as a natural, inevitable part of the process.
The dreaded salt incident.
Exactly. It's so important to be able to talk about the bumps in the road, the minor mishaps too. It makes the story more realistic, more relatable, and definitely more human.
And this isn't just about a kitchen mishap. It's a really powerful linguistic tool for normalizing imperfection and learning. A key insight from this framework is how it equips you to verbally process setbacks in English. It transforms them from potentially embarrassing silences into actual narrative opportunities. Mastering phrases like this builds resilience, not just in cooking, but in any complex learning curve, including language acquisition.
That's a great way to put it.
It's just the internal monologue from, oh, I failed, to something more like, okay, here's what happened and here's how we'll articulate it next time, fostering that crucial growth mindset.
Sentence 21. I'm making notes so I can repeat this recipe. This shows learning from experience, documenting for future improvement. It's reflective practice in action, a commitment to getting it right next time, or perhaps perfecting your technique. It's the mark of a deliberate learner.
Yes, this sentence demonstrates metacognition, thinking about thinking, or in this specific case, thinking about cooking to improve next time. It highlights the importance of inflection and documentation for future improvement. This transferable skill is incredibly valuable in language learning, where tracking progress, noting errors, and reinforcing successful strategies are absolutely paramount for steady growth.
Sentence 22. I'm creating my own version of this dish. This expresses individuality and mastery. You're not just a copier anymore, you're an innovator, putting your unique stamp on a creation. It's about taking ownership and expressing your personal flair.
And this phrase signals a higher level of mastery and creative confidence. It's moving from just following instructions to genuine innovation. In language learning, this corresponds directly to moving beyond memorized phrases to forming original complex sentences and expressing unique ideas. It's about personalizing the language, making it truly yours.
And finally, for this really dynamic phase, sentences 23 and 24. Cooking is like being an artist in the kitchen. I love the creative process of making something delicious. These sentences use a beautiful metaphor for the joy of creation and personal expression.
It's a lovely metaphor.
Isn't it? They elevate cooking beyond a mere chore to an art form, articulating that deep satisfaction that comes from bringing something delicious into existence with your own hands.
This phase is incredibly rich with action verbs and reflective statements, perfectly illustrating the dynamic process of learning through doing. It acknowledges both the triumphs, like turning out better than I expected, and the disasters like accidentally added too much salt. And importantly, how to learn from them by making notes. This encapsulates a crucial aspect of skill development, recognizing that errors are not failures, but valuable opportunities for growth and refinement. The metaphor of cooking is like being an artist in the kitchen resonates so deeply with the idea of language itself as a creative medium, where you combine elements, words, phrases, grammar to express unique ideas and personal interpretations. This section truly empowers the learner to articulate the entire hands-on experience, including the problem-solving and the deep satisfaction of creation.
Okay, the journey then culminates in connection, sharing your creations, and the joy they bring. We're now into phase 4. Sharing and connection, covering sentences 25 through 31. This is where all that effort transforms into a communal experience, which is often the best part. Sentence 25. I cooked something special for my family tonight. This is the act of generosity and community. Food is so often a primary way we show love, celebrate, and gather with those closest to us. It establishes the social context of your culinary effort beautifully.
And this phrase immediately highlights that social dimension of food and effort. It's about giving, sharing, and creating experiences for others. Linguistically, it allows the learner to express acts of service and connection, which are fundamental human interactions.
Sentence 26. Everyone wants to know my secret ingredient. Ah, this is the validation of success and intrigue. It's a wonderful feeling when your cooking is so good that it sparks curiosity and admiration, and this sentence captures that perfectly in English. A little bit of mystery.
Uh-huh. Yes. It signals positive feedback and recognition of skill, and a fantastic phrase for articulating validation and the intrigue generated by your accomplishments. It also prepares the learner for follow-up questions and further discussion, which is common in social settings after a successful event, like sharing a meal.
Sentence 27. I'm explaining how I made this dish. This represents the act of teaching and articulating a process. You're now the expert, guiding others through your culinary adventure, breaking down the steps you took. It shows confidence.
It does. This phrase demonstrates the ability to instruct, narrate a process, and convey information clearly. It signifies a transition from doing to teaching, requiring a precise and sequential use of language. This is a highly practical skill for work, education, and general social interaction.
Sentence 28. My friends are asking for the recipe. Further validation and the sharing of knowledge, showing that your efforts are genuinely appreciated and inspire others. It's a testament to your skill and your generosity in wanting to share.
This reinforces the idea of shared knowledge and the tangible demand for your expertise, essentially. It's a natural progression from explaining to sharing the means to replicate. It shows how language facilitates the transfer of practical information and helps build community around shared interests.
Sentence 29. I love sharing my cooking discoveries with others. This expresses the pure joy of communal experience, highlighting that cooking isn't just for yourself, but a powerful way to connect and build bonds with people.
This sentence articulates the intrinsic reward found in community and generosity. It's about the pleasure derived from interaction and sharing, which is a key motivator for us as social creatures. For language learners, expressing positive emotions related to social interaction is crucial for building rapport and sounding natural.
Sentence 30. Food brings people together and creates memories. This sentence articulates the profound social and emotional impact of food, elevating it beyond mere sustenance. It's more than just a meal. It's about the bonds forged and the moments cherished, the lasting legacy of a shared experience.
It's a powerful, concise statement about the deeper meaning of food, isn't it? It encapsulates the social and emotional benefits, using strong verbs like brings and creates. This phrase is excellent for expressing abstract concepts and profound observations, moving beyond the concrete details to the philosophical implications.
And finally, sentence 31. I feel proud when people enjoy my cooking. This captures the emotional reward and positive reinforcement that comes from sharing your efforts and seeing them appreciated. It's a powerful motivator for continued effort, that sense of genuine satisfaction and accomplishment.
If we connect this back to the bigger picture of language acquisition, this entire phase profoundly emphasizes the social function of language. Being able to explain, share, and connect over a shared experience is truly where language comes alive and demonstrates its ultimate purpose.
It's why we learn, really.
It really is. The feeling of pride when people enjoy my cooking is such a powerful intrinsic motivator for continued effort. Much like positive feedback in language learning fuels confidence and encourages further practice. It reinforces that language is fundamentally a tool for connection, and that mastering it allows for deeper social engagement, builds a sense of belonging, and fosters personal fulfillment. It's about leveraging the emotional rewards of communication to drive further learning.
And like any great passion, the adventure never truly ends. It evolves and inspires the next exciting chapter. That brings us to the final phase, phase 5, continuous exploration and mastery, with sentences 32 through 35. It's about the ongoing journey, not just a single destination. Sentence 32, I'm always looking for new flavors to explore. This embodies the spirit of lifelong learning and curiosity, indicating an endless desire to discover and grow. It's about the journey itself becoming the reward, a continuous quest for novel experiences.
This phrase signifies a lifelong learning mindset, doesn't it? A proactive stance toward new experiences. Always looking indicates an ongoing, sustained curiosity, which is really the engine of true mastery in any field. In language, it's about continually expanding vocabulary, exploring new grammatical structures, and engaging with diverse accents and dialects, never stopping.
Sentence 33. Cooking has become my favorite hobby. This shows the integration of the skill into one's identity and leisure time. It's no longer just an activity you do sometimes, but a core part of who you are and what you love to do, signaling a deep personal connection.
And this statement elevates an activity to a core part of one's identity and leisure. It reflects personal integration and sustained engagement over time. For language learners, this represents the ideal state, when English becomes a natural and enjoyable part of their daily life, not just a chore or a subject to study.
Sentence 34. I keep a food journal to remember great meals. This highlights the practice of reflection, documentation, and continuous improvement. It's a systematic way to learn from past experiences and refine future ones, much like any diligent learner would approach their studies or practice.
Yes, this emphasizes the practice of deliberate reflection and systematic learning. A food journal is a concrete example of metacognitive practice, documenting, analyzing, and strategizing for future improvement. This transferable technique is incredibly valuable for language learners to track progress, note effective strategies, and identify areas for further development.
Like keeping a vocabulary notebook, but maybe tastier.
Exactly.
Right.
And probably more motivating for some.
And to wrap up this entire food adventure journey, sentence 35, I'm planning my next food adventure this weekend. This provides a forward-looking perspective and perpetually renews the learning cycle. The journey continues, always moving towards new discoveries and challenges. It's a testament to sustained passion and an open-ended commitment to growth.
This final phase beautifully demonstrates the iterative nature of mastery. It's not about reaching some finite destination, but about cultivating a sustained passion and a systematic, self-reinforcing approach to learning and growth. The food journal, as you mentioned, is a fantastic analogy for reflective practice, a technique that can be applied to solidify any new knowledge or skill, including language acquisition. By documenting experiences and reflections, learners can identify patterns, track progress, and strategically plan future learning, creating a self-sustaining cycle of improvement. This entire phase speaks to the joy and continuous enrichment that comes from lifelong engagement and a proactive learning mindset.
Okay, so we have these 35 brilliant sentences, meticulously categorized into phases, giving us the vocabulary and structures for every step of the culinary journey. But the real breakthrough, the source emphasizes, the unstoppable English confidence, comes when you weave them together into a coherent, natural narrative. This is the essence of round three food adventure storytelling, which is truly the pinnacle of this system. It's what transforms isolated phrases into living communication.
And what's truly fascinating here is the core difference between simply knowing phrases and being a confident English speaker. The latter can tell flowing, natural stories about their real experiences. This moves beyond mere vocabulary recall or grammatical correctness to actual meaningful communication where ideas, emotions, and events are connected into a compelling whole. Isolated sentences are merely building blocks. Storytelling is the complex, beautiful architecture of true fluency in any language.
That's a great analogy, blocks versus architecture.
Right. This ability to construct and deliver a narrative is fundamental to engaging in extended conversations, describing past events, or conveying complex ideas in any context, not just food.
And the Speak English Daily source gives us a fantastic example of exactly how to do this, demonstrating how those individual sentences transform into a complete, engaging story. It encourages you to go back to round two, your practice time. That independent practice with images, but this time, connect the sentences using simple yet powerful linking words like first, then, next, after that, so, and, but, and, because. These little words are the glue, really, that turns a list into a vibrant narrative. Let's walk through some of those powerful examples from the source, showing how a real food adventure unfolds in English, flowing naturally from one thought to the next. Imagine you're starting your story with discovery and initial intent. You might say something like, yesterday, first of all, I went to this amazing Thai restaurant where this dish had an incredible combination of flavors. I could taste ginger, garlic, and something spicy that was absolutely perfect.
Setting the scene.
Exactly. And because of that, this immediately reminded me of my grandmother's cooking, but maybe with a modern twist that made me wonder what ingredients they used in this sauce. I knew I had to try it myself, so I wanted to learn how to cook this at home, and that's why I took a photo to remember this meal. You see how those initial sentences about trying new cuisines, describing flavors, connecting to memories, expressing curiosity, and wanting to recreate it flow together seamlessly, building a cohesive opening.
Mm-hmm. Good connectors make it smooth.
Then the story naturally progresses to recipe finding and preparation. You might continue. The next day, after being so inspired, I found an interesting recipe online to try. So then I spent time reading the ingredients list carefully. But I realized some of these ingredients were new to me. Consequently, I needed to buy fresh herbs and spices from the Asian grocery store. Even though this recipe looked challenging, it was also so exciting, so I decided to give it a try.
Again, those connecting words show the logic, the cause and effect, the contrast.
Precisely. Now let's get into the heart of the adventure, the cooking process, including learning from errors. This is where the story gets really dynamic. The next day, to begin, I started following the recipes step by step. Soon, I was experimenting with different spice combinations because I wanted to get the flavor just right. I was adding more chili powder to make it spicier, and then I thought, this needed a little lemon juice for brightness. The smell coming from the kitchen was incredible. Throughout the process, I was tasting as I cooked to get the flavors right, and this was actually turning out better than I expected.
The positive turn.
Yes. But then disaster struck. I accidentally added too much salt.
Oh no. The crucial moment.
The crucial moment. Fortunately, however, I was making notes. so that I could repeat this recipe and avoid the same mistake next time. After fixing the salt issue, I continued creating my own version of this dish. Ultimately, for me, cooking is like being an artist in the kitchen, and I truly love the creative process of making something delicious.
That's a great example of weaving in the problem and the solution, making it a real story.
It makes it relatable. This segment beautifully demonstrates how to narrate actions, sensory details, successes, and even setbacks, using transition words to keep the listener engaged in your real-time experience, making it dynamic and personal. The story then moves into sharing and connection, which is often the most rewarding part. When I cooked something special for my family that night, almost immediately, everyone wanted to know my secret ingredient.
The validation.
The validation. Naturally, I was explaining how I made this dish step by step, and then my friends were asking for the recipe when they came over. I love sharing my cooking discoveries with others because food brings people together and creates memories. And I have to say, I feel so proud when people enjoy my cooking. It's one of the best feelings in the world.
That really brings the social aspect to life, connecting the cooking back to people.
And finally, you conclude with your future plans and ongoing enthusiasm. Now, I'm always looking for new flavors to explore. In fact, cooking has become my favorite hobby over the past year. To keep track, I keep a food journal to remember great meals and the techniques I've learned. And right now, I'm planning my next food adventure this weekend. I'm thinking of trying Indian cuisine this time.
A perfect ending.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
Yes, this ending brings the narrative full circle, showing that the adventure is continuous and ever evolving, leaving the listener with a sense of excitement for your next culinary quest. It showcases sustained passion and a commitment to continued learning, painting a picture of ongoing engagement.
And this storytelling component is truly where the brain makes that critical leap from recognizing individual phrases to constructing meaningful discourse. It's where, as a source says, English should feel like sharing your genuine food adventures naturally. This ability to connect ideas, to build a coherent narrative from disparate elements using simple conjunctions, is fundamental to true fluency in any language. It's moving from knowing the notes to playing a symphony.
I like that. Playing the symphony.
This method actively trains your brain to think in narrative arcs, which is essential for engaging in extended conversations, describing events, explaining processes, or conveying complex ideas in any context, not just food. It allows for the expression of cause and effect, sequence, contrast, and purpose, which are the building blocks of sophisticated communication.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, beyond just discussing what's for dinner tonight? How does this food adventure blueprint translate to other areas of your English learning and even your life? The principles here are incredibly profound and I think universally transferable. Let's explore these deeper meanings.
Indeed. The food adventure metaphor provides a uniquely accessible yet powerful framework that can be applied to nearly any aspect of language learning and really to any skill development. First, there's the power of context. We touched on this, but learning language within a specific, relatable, and immersive context, like food and cooking, makes it significantly more memorable, intuitive, and immediately applicable than trying to internalize abstract grammar rules or isolated vocabulary lists. When you connect new words and phrases to a real-world experience, to the smell of garlic, the sizzle of oil, the joy of sharing your brain forms stronger, more relevant emotional and sensory associations.
So it sticks better.
It sticks much better. This contextual learning means the language is not just stored as data, but as part of a lived experience, making it much easier to recall and use naturally in similar situations, or even to generalize to new ones. It transforms passive knowledge into active, usable language because it's tied to an experience, not just a definition.
And that's exactly why those 35 sentences are so effective, right? They're not just words, they're anchors to an entire experience. It truly helps avoid that feeling of constantly grasping for words because your brain is recalling a whole context, not just an isolated term. It's about building a richer, more interconnected mental web for your English.
Precisely. Second, consider active engagement. The entire journey, as we've outlined it, from discovery to creation to sharing, perfectly mirrors the iterative process of mastering any skill. You observe something new, you plan how to approach it, you actively create an experiment, you share your results, and then you reflect on the experience. This active, hands-on, iterative process is far more effective than passively consuming information. In language learning, this translates to moving from listening to active speaking practice to attempting to tell stories and then reflecting on your performance.
Learning by doing.
It's the difference between reading a recipe and actually cooking the dish. One creates understanding, the other creates mastery.
So it's about being a participant, not just an observer. I think about how much faster I learned a new software program by actually using it and trying to build something, rather than just reading the manual. It's that same principle of learning by doing applied to language.
Exactly. And third, and crucially, this system profoundly teaches us about embracing mistakes as learning. That too much salt moment isn't a failure, it's a teachable moment. It teaches us that errors are an inherent, inevitable, and valuable part of the learning process.
Okay, valuable is key there.
Very key.
Yeah.
And that making notes or reflecting on what went wrong helps you avoid repeating them. This approach builds resilience, not just in cooking or language, but in any learning endeavor. It fundamentally reframes mistakes as opportunities for insight and improvement, rather than something to be ashamed of or afraid of. Being able to articulate mistakes and what you learn from them in English is actually a sign of true confidence and self-awareness.
That's a huge psychological shift for many language learners, isn't it? Moving from that fear of making errors to seeing them as essential data points for growth, it makes the entire process so much less intimidating. It allows you to experiment, just like in the kitchen, without the pressure of needing to be perfect every single time.
Absolutely. Fourth, there's the value of narrative. The ability to tell a coherent story, to connect sentences with those simple conjunctions we discussed, is a hallmark of confident, fluent communication. This skill is universally applicable, whether you're describing a complex work project, recounting a travel experience, explaining a new scientific concept, or, of course, detailing your next culinary masterpiece. It transforms you from someone who simply knows words into someone who can truly communicate complex ideas, experiences, and emotions in a way that is engaging and memorable.
It's how we connect.
It's how we make sense of our world and share it with others.
That's truly the goal, isn't it? To not just exchange information, but to connect, to paint pictures with your words, and to be truly understood. Storytelling is so fundamental to human interaction.
It is. And finally, this entire approach fosters continuous learning. The concept of always looking for new flavors to explore and diligently keeping a food journal encourages lifelong engagement and reflective practice in language learning. It promotes a mindset of ongoing curiosity and self-improvement, recognizing that mastery is an ongoing journey, not a final destination you simply arrive at. These principles extend far beyond the kitchen, becoming powerful tools for holistic self-development and sustained intellectual growth, ensuring that your English journey remains exciting and ever-expanding.
You have just completed a deep dive into mastering your complete food adventure story in English. From the first tantalizing taste of inspiration to the joy of sharing your creations, we've covered a rich, flavorful journey that's designed to transform your English-speaking confidence, making it feel natural and, well, utterly unstoppable. Remember the core philosophy from our source. Think English, cook English, create English adventures.
Which leads to, I think, an important question for you, our listener. Now that you've seen how to build unstoppable English confidence through the universally enjoyable and deeply relatable context of food, what other passions or areas of your life could you intentionally approach with this same Think in English storytelling framework? How might systematically practicing expressing those experiences, whether it's your hobbies, your work projects, your travel memoirs, or even just your daily routines, How might that transform your overall fluency and confidence, one delicious or fascinating or challenging or rewarding adventure at a time?
Start small, start delicious, and let those linguistic adventures begin. We can't wait to hear what you cook up next, both in and out of the kitchen.